Central, oh, and I'm being recorded. I'm speaking to you from central Mexico, a city called Guanajuato, which was the first capital of Mexico when it gained independence from Spain. The Spanish arrived here in 1550 and pretty much wiped out any evidence of indigenous folks in pursuit of silver and gold. So I cannot do much of a land acknowledgement other than I'm pretty sure it's unceded territory that I'm talking to you from. On behalf of Editorial Freelancer Association and Editors Canada, I want to welcome you to this meeting of the Joint Association of the Academic Editing Chapter, and we're really grateful that you're here with us today. The purpose of our event today is to let you know a bit about the structure of this Joint Association of Academic Editing and invite you to join us in volunteering to support our efforts. Oh goodness, I just lost my script. Sorry about that. So we have a slide here that Letitia has put up to give you a sense of kind of how we've organized ourselves. And we have a leadership team, and then we have committees. Sometimes we call them subcommittees, but I think we are mostly gravitating towards committees. And we currently have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 committees. The one in the middle, diversity, equity, and belonging, is in transformation. So that's a really good place for people who are feeling entrepreneurial and want to help us form that. But this gives you a sense of kind of how we've organized ourselves for the moment. We also have liaison to Editors Canada, and then we work closely with the EFA staff. We try to keep things really balanced. I'm going to hand the virtual microphone over to Letitia Henville.
Thanks, Cerise. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Letitia Henville. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm joining you from the traditional, ancestral, unceded, and stolen territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. It's a privilege for me to be a settler and uninvited guest on this land. There are a range of ways you can volunteer to be a part of the academic editing chapter, and volunteering can be as simple as hosting a one-time event or as intensive as joining or even leading one of our committees. Today, we are specifically recruiting volunteers who might be available to serve on one of the chapter's many committees. You just saw the 7 of them on the slide there. But we're also going to share with you a number of one-off opportunities to be involved. There will be a mention of these throughout our short presentation, and then we'll have a bit of time for Q&A. I also wanted to call to your attention a option for the members in Canada. It's the Editors Canada Ambassadors Program, just another way to volunteer for our professional association. And that one's not specifically tied to the academic editing chapter, but we're certainly involved in that work. One of the questions that I often get from prospective volunteers is, how much time does it take to volunteer? And of course, that varies depending on what kind of activity you're involved in. As a general rule, I think that being a member of a committee probably takes between 4 and 6 hours of work each month. We're a bit more active during the academic year, a bit less active in July, August. Of that 4 to 6 hours a month, it's maybe 1 or 2 hours for committee meetings, the rest of the time for sending emails, attending events like this one, and following up on action items from a meeting, which might be drafting an email or creating a spreadsheet. I know that there are people here in a wide range of time zones. Most of the synchronous events of the chapter take place during the working week and working day in North America. I'm presently in Vancouver, and when it is 9 a.m. here, it's noon in New York, and it's 5 p.m. in London and 6 p.m. in Berlin. And so if you're in Europe or the UK, it might actually be possible for you to participate in committee meetings, but it would be a lot harder for you to participate in committee meetings if you're in Sydney or Singapore. We privilege North American time zones because our two host organizations, Editors Canada and the EFA, primarily serve North American members. But if you're not in North America, there are still ways to be involved asynchronously. So please don't run away just yet. We have done our best to try to make multiple routes into the chapter for everyone to be involved synchronously or asynchronously in a small or big way. You don't have to be a member of the Editorial Freelancers Association or Editors Canada in order to volunteer. We encourage you to be a member of either association because we think there are benefits with being members. But we also recognize that joining these associations costs money, and that's going to be a barrier for some people. So we encourage but do not require you to join either association in order to volunteer with us. Some of the parts of the chapter have specific roles they're looking to fill, and other parts of the chapter are just looking for more minds and hands and help. We're collecting volunteer interest and names via a Google form, which I'm just going to put in the chat in a second. I will share that URL form a number of times throughout our meeting today, so you will see it appear and reappear. I will probably put the link to that form in an email to you after this event if I'm on the ball, which I hope I will be. Now I'm going to ask a representative from each committee to describe the kinds of work that they do and how you might get involved. And we're going to start with Reese from Admin and Com.
Okay. Yeah, so Admin and Com is responsible for the management of our structures and our policies, our budget and finances, and for communications. Communications include our website, our email, the newsletter. We also have a couple special projects where we're working on a style guide for the chapter, and hopefully we'll be working on some project management tools for the chapter to help facilitate communication and knowing what's going on. We hold the intent of both of the parent.
Can I give Reese's internet a second? I'm gonna take over for Reese. Everybody go like this if that's a cool move and it's not. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna take over for Reese. So Admin and Com holds the intent of the parent organizations in mind, both Editors Canada and the EFA, and is responsible for ensuring that the chapter activities and events support and reflect the work of both organizations responsibly and in the best light. Currently, we have a few needs for volunteers. They're up on your slide. To check and respond to emails in the chapter email account, that might be 1 or 2 hours a week. To create and send out reminder short emails about programming and events using MailChimp, again, 1 or 2 hours a week. To oversee project management software tool to help keep the chapter abreast of individual committee work. That's a one-off project that might involve some regular maintenance, a little bit TBD. And we're also looking for someone who might be interested in analyzing data from our member survey, which we're sending out in February or March. Again, that's a one-off project that can be completed asynchronously. Next up is advocacy. I'm going to speak on behalf of the Advocacy Committee. Advocacy is responsible for advocating on behalf of professional academic editors. This might take the form of advocating to different bodies for our clients, or advocating to potential clients that they consider hiring a professional editor. It might also involve advocating on behalf of our joint association group to different scholarly societies or other professional associations. So as you can see on the slide, at the moment, we are recruiting 3 different types of volunteers. One way to be involved is to volunteer to write a 1,000-word piece for the column that we're in the process of pitching to a magazine that academics tend to read, Inside Higher Ed. I often abbreviate that as IHE. We have not yet pitched this column, so we don't know if Inside Higher Ed will even want to publish it. But the idea is that by sharing high-value content with readers of Inside Higher Ed, those readers will come to understand the value that a professional editor can bring. So if you know of a challenge that the kinds of clients that you work with regularly encounter, please consider writing for that column. That is a separate Google form, bit.ly/yes I like to write. All of the other volunteering goes into bit.ly/yes I will volunteer. A second way to be involved is specifically for editors in Canada who edit social science and humanities research. I heard one person in the room who said they're in Montreal, so Montreal person, especially for you. Editors Canada is sponsoring a booth at the Congress of the Humanities and Social Sciences in Montreal at McGill University in June. And we are interested in hearing from French and English speaking editors who are interested in spending a day, half a day, sitting at that booth and talking to potential clients about what editors do. If that's something that appeals to you, please just let us know in bit.ly/yes I like to yes I'd like to volunteer, is it? Yes, I will volunteer. bit.ly/yes I will volunteer if you want to sit in the booth at Congress and meet, thousands of potential clients, potentially. And finally, the Advocacy Committee is hoping to recruit more members for our committee. As a whole, the committee is currently pushing forward 2 separate initiatives. There's the column that I just mentioned, which will feature editors of academic writing sharing their advice and perspectives. And we're also planning on doing outreach to scholarly societies and associations whose members are the kind of people we'd probably like to have as clients. So this will be similar to the Editors Canada Ambassador Program, but targeted at our potential clients. The Advocacy Committee would love to have more people involved with these really exciting initiatives. If you would like to join the Advocacy Committee, in addition to completing the Google form, I also ask that folks fill out a doodle poll. That's bit.ly/oh no another form. We ask you to fill out a doodle poll and include your email address in that poll so that we can plan our next meeting, which will be in a couple of weeks. So that's the last form that I will tell you about today. Next up, I wanted to let you know about book club. Bailey, if it's okay with you, would you mind please putting these links in the chat if you can? Book club started up in November 2022, and we had been meeting once a month, sometimes just to discuss a book amongst ourselves, and sometimes we invited the author of the book to an open question and answer type event. Because participants in some months have been small, and because the number of folks told us that they found it difficult to read a new book every month, starting last September, we shifted to meeting once every other month. So this year, we've already planned out our first 3 book club meetings. They all have author Q&As, so we've invited the author to come in and join us. February's book, Bailey's put it in the chat. It's the Dissertation to Book workbook with Caitlin Knox and Allison DeVenter. I've never had to say that out loud. So they're going to discuss that book. In April, we're hosting Abhitama Kumar, who will answer questions about his highly, highly provocative Every Day I Write the Book. If you haven't read it yet, super different kind of academic writing. And in June, we're going to have a Q&A with Kara Jordan and Leslie Castro Woodhouse, who are the editors of a brand new collection of essays, The Art of Academic Editing. If you'd like to be involved, we are interested in recruiting people for 2 different roles. First, we're interested in folks who might be interested in hosting a book club meeting, whether that's to facilitate an author Q&A or simply to host a conversation about an editing or academic writing related book. Second, we are interested in hearing from volunteers who might want to write a blog post, book review in advance of a book club meeting. Not everyone who attends book club meetings is able to finish reading the entire book in advance of the meeting. So we'd love someone to be able to write about the book before the meeting, to share their perspective, to highlight some chapters or sections of the book that might be particularly interesting for editors to spend some time with. We're hoping that these pre-book club blog posts might be ready to be published around 2 or 3 weeks before the book club meetings to generate interest and attendance. We're hoping that hosting a book club meeting or writing a book review might be a fun way for someone who doesn't have a lot of time, who isn't able to join a full committee, might still be able to be involved and volunteer for the chapter. If Reese is back in the room, I will hand the virtual microphone back to Reese. Reese, are you back? Not hearing from Reese, I'm gonna say a couple of words on behalf of the Diversity, Equity, and Belonging Initiative. A lot of the people who are members of the leadership are really interested in ensuring that our events are accessible, inclusive, feature diverse speakers and panelists, and make sure that people from diverse backgrounds and cultural groups feel like they belong in the profession of academic editing. We are still in the process of figuring out what shape this initiative is going to take. And by that, I mean like structurally and systematically. How are we going to ensure that this work is embedded across all of our different activities? How are we going to hold ourselves accountable? We would love volunteers who are interested in being involved in our diversity, equity, and belonging group really in any way, because we're at such early stages with forming the structure of this group. We still don't know what that work will involve in terms of hours per week or specific roles. I can't say things about diversity and equity and belonging in the same way that I said about book club, where it's like clearly defined role 1, clearly defined role 2. Just isn't possible. But we would love to have people who are especially interested in diversity, equity, belonging, decolonization, accessibility, and social justice as it relates to academic writing and academic editing writ large to volunteer. Next, I'm going to hand the virtual microphone over to Shifra.
Hi, I'm Shifra Diamond. For some reason, my screen is showing up as EFA chapters. So I will type my name in the chat.
I'm just going to rename.
Oh, okay. Great. Thank you. My pronouns are she and her. I am here in Princeton, New Jersey, which I believe the land acknowledgement is to the Lenape tribe, but I'm not very well versed in this, I must admit. I'm the chair of the Education Committee, and I don't have a snazzy slide for you. So I'm sorry, and my remarks are on another screen. So I am going to click over there and see if I can remind myself what I want to say. But I can't see myself while I'm talking, so while I'm reading this. So hopefully this is all working. Somebody please let me know if it's not. So the Education Committee started as an offshoot of our Advocacy Committee. And as we sort of narrowed and our scope on the Advocacy Committee came more into focus, we realized that there was enough to do just on education that it might merit its own committee. So we started working on education back in May and spent some time sort of brainstorming lots of different ideas for what we can do. And we're still in the very early stages of our work, although I will share with you some of the things that we've been doing. And we're very open to new volunteers. Our primary purpose is to coordinate classes, training, and workshops, as well as other educational resources for academic editors. And we aim to provide resources both for new editors and for experienced editors. One of our points of departure was that there seemed to be somewhat of a gap. There are lots of training resources for editors, both at universities, at EFA, at Editors Canada, and in other venues. But there seemed to be sort of a gap in training specifically aimed at academic editors from various disciplines. So we're trying to fill that gap. And so one of our core areas of focus is working with EFA and Editors Canada, since we are, our chapter is connected with both of those organizations, to advocate for and develop courses on academic editing to be offered through those. However, we also aim to support editors who want to teach those classes, and editors who want to develop courses to teach on their own platforms. So on the one hand, we want to work on developing courses. On the other hand, we aim to support editors who want to teach, and also editors who are expanding into services such as coaching academic writers. We also We have a bunch of different initiatives we're looking to do, which I will tell you about in a minute. But I just want to say that, like, in the way that I have come to shaping this committee is that I really want it to be an open space for people who are academic editors, but where we can acknowledge that many editors who work in the academic space also have experience and interest in areas such as teaching, curriculum design, research, instructional design, and research just on, their areas of research that they were doing before they became editors or along with. And we really want to be a space where editors can bring all their ideas and think creatively about the work that we're doing and design ways to share their knowledge with our communities. So there are a number of ways we can talk about doing that. Now, I want to just say that we are recruiting for two particular purposes right now. One is volunteers who want to join the committee and work together on these various educational initiatives. And two, we're recruiting for editors who want to propose and teach courses on academic editing. That would be courses or webinars that would be offered through EFA or Editors Canada. I am open to talking to people who have either of those interests. And if you are interested in teaching, but not interested in joining the committee, that is perfectly fine. There may be some people like that here, I don't know. I'm happy to talk to you about what is involved in teaching for EFA or Editors Canada. I also want to mention that here in our room, we also have at least two members of our committee. One is Emily Lamb, who is also our chapter's liaison to Editors Canada. And we have so far been working more closely with EFA, but we are hoping to start working more with Editors Canada, and Emily will be spearheading that effort. Okay. I also want to say that I have a more detailed information sheet about our work and our various initiatives, which I will share with anybody who's interested. If you fill out our form, I will get in touch with you, or you are also welcome to email me at our chapter email address, which I am actually at the moment the volunteer who's monitoring that email, our chapter email. So I will definitely see your message. Just to briefly summarize some of the things we've done so far, we have, first of all, had a series of productive conversations about curriculum for academic editors. Um, we are we have generated a long list of ideas for potential courses, and I am happy to share that list, in particular with people who are interested in teaching but want sort of a springboard of ideas to work from when you're proposing your courses. Our goal in thinking about curriculum is to make it easier for new editors to plan a coherent course of study, whether they are working only through one organization, or gathering courses from various organizations. Um, 4 members of our committee have either, I think 4, maybe 5, have either pitched courses to EFA or are currently working on course proposals. 2 of these courses are already on the EFA's calendar for February 2024. One is Letitia Henville's webinar, Ethically Compiling and Editing Portfolio, which will be on February 15th. And Kate Vasek is doing a webinar on Introduction to Coaching Academic Writers on February 29th. There are also a couple other courses in the works on academic editing, which have been approved but have not yet hit the official calendar. And there's at least one course on it's Erin Maher's course on editing references, which was proposed not through our committee, but before the committee got started, and that is already available on EFA's list of recorded webinars on their website. I think somebody was going to put all these links in the chat, and if not, I will do it after I finish speaking.
I have already done it.
Excellent. Okay. Just to finish up quickly, we are also working on compiling a resource list, as well as a curriculum map, which we hope to make available publicly online. We are open to people who want to work on that. And some other things that we have, we would like to do is, one, really building a support system for editors who want to teach, such as a mastermind group, sponsoring mastermind groups for editors who want to support each other in building our businesses. Perhaps gathering editors who want to talk about their research and propose panels for academic conferences. This is a very long range goal because obviously you have to plan very far in advance. And possibly a series of workshops that would focus very specifically on various editing practices that would sort of fill a gap between the more formal courses and webinars that are offered through EFA and Editors Canada and the sort of broader topics that we're offering through our coffee chats and our Let's Talk About series. So the workshops would aim to be sort of more niche, focusing on editors in specific areas of editing, such as, for instance, cultural studies or science editing, etc. The last thing I want to say is that we do have editors on our committee who are in almost every time zone, definitely every time zone in the US. We also have at least one person on the committee who is based in Europe right now. So we do try to plan our meetings at a time that is that it will work for everybody. Although it's hard, but we so far I think have managed. So I will stop talking now. Cheryl Lieb is here, and she's a member of our committee. I think she wanted to say a few words. Cheryl, do you want to unmute yourself?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, and I'll keep it brief. I know we have some time limitations, but just to give you an idea of how and why I became involved, my first real connection with the whole organization was going to the conference back in August at Alexandria, Virginia. It was one of the best conference experiences of my life, and that really spurred my inspiration and motivation to get more involved. Why volunteer? Obviously, networking is important for all of us. Community, building a professional community is important. And I think you would all agree with me that the kind of work we do, while it's very intellectually stimulating, it can be isolating as well, right? Because it's us and the computer a big portion of the time. I go to my favorite coffee shop every morning to start my day because I have to get out of the house to focus. And then at some point, maybe come back to my home office, but you'll find what works for you. Education initiatives. I'm a former university teaching professor, so education is very important to me. My areas are the social sciences and humanities, and I do have a PhD, so I know what that navigation journey is like. And I do all kinds of academic editing. I even do some fiction, but my specialization is qualitative dissertations. So I kind of use that as my niche, and I think that it's very important for all of us to learn from one another and share. Um, I am pitching a course, and I think Schiffer and I are supposed to meet sometime next week to talk about it. I am interested in teaching a dissertation course, more the fundamentals and foundation, not just the technical part, but the stressors and the challenges of going through that dissertation journey, the ethics involved in editing someone's dissertation relative to the institution, and many, many other things. So I'm working on that. And lastly, I'll say that I have submitted a proposed column to Letitia for the advocacy column, hopefully that we will have. And I would like to continue doing that. So I'm finding areas, I love editing, but I am an academic at heart. So when I can take what I used to do and add that to my editor role, it just feels very fulfilling. And I would encourage you all to get involved. It's really great.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. That's great. I have one more point I wanted to make. That actually two. So what I wanted to say is that for people who are interested in joining our committee, um, I wasn't very specific about the roles that we're trying to fill on the committee. So I wanted to just mention that very open to people who are ideas people who want to just brainstorm and and plan programs, but also very open to people who want to take the lead on certain programs because it would be great for us. What we would like to do is sort of coalesce on certain programs that we're doing, but we need people who can really take the idea and run with it. And three, we also are very open to people who are like enjoy admin work and can do some of the nuts and bolts organizing for these initiatives. So I just wanted to mention that. And I also finally wanted to say in terms of teaching that although we have a lot of ideas about things we want to do for teaching, we do need to work very closely with the staff at Editors Canada and EFA for the courses that are actually going to be presented through those venues. So I will have much more information about the context for that and the processes for that for anybody who is interested in teaching. Thank you.
Next up is Bailey.
Okay. Letitia, I think you're doing this slide. Okay. So my name is Bailey Harrington. I'm the Programming and Events Coordinator for the chapter and also a book club co-chair. I'm going to be talking about programming and events right now. So the Academic Editing Chapter's Programming and Events Committee plans, promotes, and runs all of the chapter's events. These currently include the Let's Talk About event series, where speakers speak to our members about topics related to academic editing, regular coffee chats, which are community building events where members meet up with other academic editors to discuss different aspects of editing in a more casual environment. We help with book club meetings by collaborating to get out announcements and things. And we also put on occasional co-working events to help members block out time for working on tasks. So we already have a great team of volunteers who help put these things together. I think a few of them are here today, but we're also looking for people to fill some particular roles based on like needs that we've identified within the team. And we're also, if you don't have the capacity to volunteer, but have ideas for like speakers that we could invite or new events, we are open to that kind of open to those suggestions as well. So the roles that we've identified as needs are somebody to produce copy for event announcements and other content, a book club liaison to help with the coordination between the two committees, hosts for smaller events, such as our co-working sessions, and somebody to help out with document management and admin. Yeah, I think that's
it.
I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I think
Thanks, Bailey. The Programming and Events Committee is a powerhouse in our chapter, and so it would be a fun and exciting one to be involved with if you have the capacity to. Final committee I wanted to mention to you is the Volunteer Management Committee. This committee supports the chapter by orchestrating calls for volunteers and onboarding volunteers. If called upon, this committee will also address and seek to resolve interpersonal issues among volunteers. This committee is really small, and so could really use some help with somebody perhaps who might be systems minded. So we have just spent, what, 38 minutes doing a big dump of information on you. We have exactly 7 minutes for a Q&A. You're welcome to use the physical raise hand feature, the digital raise hand feature. That's how we'd like to manage any questions from the audience. It makes it a bit easier. You're also welcome to DM me privately if you'd like to ask a question but don't want to de-anonymize yourself. So please feel totally welcome to DM me with any questions. Just don't DM the laptop one. So I'm going to take a pause and see if anyone has any questions. Yeah, Kath, go for it.
Hi, thanks for all the information. I'm just wondering if any of the committees are trying to balance by field. I'm thinking that there are a couple of committees I might be interested in, and I'm just thinking, do any of them specifically need someone with my background, which is in STEM, or does that not matter? Are other committees specifically looking for people in other fields, that kind of thing?
It's not something that we've prioritized as part of the volunteer stuff. Bailey is a STEM background person. I'm a humanities background person. So it's not something we've prioritized. I will say, thinking about who's in the advocacy committee, I know we are not STEM heavy in advocacy. So if that interests you, it is a place where we'd love support. But I will say, you know, the committees come together, the leads of the committees come together in what we call the leadership team. And the leadership team is acutely aware of the need to serve a diverse array of clients, both across the disciplines, and we might say like on the other axis, maybe from undergraduates and graduate students all the way up to very senior established faculty and stuff like textbooks. And so we're aware of the wide breadth of clients that we work with. What I mean by that is when we're doing an activity where there may be a gap, we often consult with one another. So long answer to a short question. The short answer is we've not prioritized it.
I just
Catherine
want
asked to put the first slide back up, so I'll do that now. Shifra?
yeah, I just want to say that on the education committee so far, we have a diversity of disciplines and are definitely open to anybody from any discipline. I personally come from humanities and cultural studies, and we have a few humanities folk, but definitely STEM background would be very welcome for that perspective. Oh, and I also want to say in terms of diversity, we're definitely open, I think, in all of our committees to a diversity of ages, as well as other types of diversity that might be. Thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, I think someone is unmuted, so do you have a question? The way I am currently screen sharing, I cannot see physical hands that are raised. So if there are any other questions, please feel free to unmute yourself. We've asked folks to please complete the volunteer, recruitment, whatever it's called, form, the main form by January 26th. That's 9 days from now. It's a bit of an arbitrary deadline. It's a week from Friday. That just means that it gives us a date at which we can start collecting your responses and looking through them. If you would like to volunteer in the future, but just had a baby and so don't have the capacity right now, then you can also just email us in the future. That's an option too. A question from Holly.
Hi, thanks. Can you just, there was a lot of information. Can you just remind me what the advocacy group is? I just don't remember.
Yeah, advocacy is doing a lot of stuff that isn't events. So we're working on proposing this column for Inside Higher Ed, not accepted yet. We're working on outreach to scholarly societies and professional associations. We do have a booth at for Editors Canada at the Congress of Humanities and Social Sciences in Montreal in June. And we are definitely looking for more people to be involved. Advocacy, it took months to figure out what our priorities are because there are so many ways that we could do advocacy. That's why we spun off the Education Committee, because that was also a need. And so we are interested in ideas for more ways that we could advocate for the profession. But because of capacity, we've narrowed down to those two for now. We would love to do more.
I'm just wondering at what level, when you're doing academic editing, is there, what target audience are you looking at when you do the volunteer? Would it be masters? Would it be PhD? Would it be?
Oh, we have people who come from different educational backgrounds and who work for folks at different educational backgrounds. So we heard from Cheryl, who was a faculty member for a while, Bailey and I have PhDs, but not everybody who's an academic editor needs to have a graduate degree. And some academic editors don't edit for profs or prof type people. Some academic editors do knowledge translation, which means they take scholarly work and they make it more accessible for a wide range of literacies. Some academic editors work on textbooks, which might be targeted at undergrads. So we are not at all narrow in our definition of who gets to be an academic editor or what academic editing is.
Or the clientele that you serve that want academic editing would be.
Having said that, the work of the Advocacy Committee is currently targeting, I would say, graduate students and profs inside higher ed, just because that tends to be who reads that magazine. And by our affiliation with scholarly societies, I suppose we're targeting individual faculty, institutions, journals, university presses, these sorts of profs and places where profs and graduate students publish. As I mentioned, that's a capacity issue. We would love to do more. We need more help to do more. Oh my gosh, it is 14 minutes too, which means I've kept you a minute over time. Thank you so much. Bailey, could you put the link, the final set of links into the chat when you have a second? I'm going to email around this video for folks who'd like to rewatch it because there was a big dump of information. If you Google academic editing EFA, you will get our website, which links you to our listserv, which is our newsletter at all is the primary way that you learn about what's going on in the chapter. So it's a great way to stay up to date about what's going on. Just we'd love your help, I suppose is the message. And any way that you want to help, if you didn't hear it talked about today, that doesn't mean we don't still want it. We want it. We would love your help in whatever capacity you're available to please fill out our form. And thank you so much for being here. I'm going to stop the recording, but I'll stay on the call for another couple of minutes in case there are further questions. So I think I'm in the process of stopping the recording. If you're ready to go, if you're done, please feel free to hit that red leave button. Otherwise, I'll hang around for any other questions. Thanks all. Bye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye all.